created specifically for German audience, right? So, and this I created from the first statement that I have written. Sometimes in life, we are helpless. For instance, traffic jam is prevalent across the world. But when traffic happens in India, it's because of huge number of people. And in Germany, because of huge number of cars. Even though each one of us knows the root cause of the problem, we are helpless because Germans will not stop producing car and Indians babies.
Today, we have a very special guest among us, Toastmaster Abhishek Vyas. He's going to teach us something that, quite frankly, we all struggle with. I know I struggle with it a lot because sometimes I think I'm funny, then I realize that I'm not. I write a joke, think it's gonna land some laughs, and it really does not. So we're here to fix that today, okay? No more pity laughs, no more awkward chuckles. We're gonna full on belly laugh, okay? So without further ado, our guest, Toastmaster Abhishek Vyas, the floor is yours.
Year 1931, there was a big celebration for a film called City Street. On the floor, there are two eminent people of that time, Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin. The crowd was roaring and shouting, but Einstein looked puzzled. Looking at Einstein, Charlie Chaplin said, "Don't get puzzled. They are shouting and excited because no one understands you, and each one of them understands me." So, joke or humor has that power to make sure that people understands you. So, even if Charlie Chaplin today speak nothing on the screen, people understand it. So let's try to understand what make jokes work and how the entire structure of joke is all about. So I hope you are able to see my screen. If you look at joke writing, it contains two parts, delivery and content. In this workshop, I will be focusing more on the content and I will also give some tips on the delivery side. One of the problem that most teenagers face and even I faced, and the thing that we hate the most is long speeches and lectures. So in this workshop, we try to make sure that we have enough work to do and have fun together. I also recommend that when you go in the breakout room, just before getting into breakout room, it's better to start your video if it is possible so that you are able to communicate with your partners during the exercise. For content, I would like to give you three instruments of creating a joke. The first one is using metaphors and comparison. The second one is creating questions. And third is punchline or a setup. Let's try to look each one of them one by one. If I would have said what Farida mentioned at the beginning about Toastmaster is very similar to COVID-19. That would have given enough eyeball to me. And From there on, if I would have compared Toastmaster with COVID, it would be real fun to understand what Toastmasters is all about. To build that, if we go one step further, I can list down what Toastmasters is all about. So it's a public speaking club. It's headquartered in US. It's a usual Toastmasters meeting happen every week or twice a week. We have a prepared speaker, a table topic speaker. And most of you who are not aware about Toastmaster, I'm sure you are aware about these terms, say infection, quarantine, mask, vaccine, asymptomatic. Now let's try to see how to put these two in practice. So I will play a small video of mine uh, and just make sure that you are able to listen to it. So maybe Dahiya or somebody just give me a signal that you are able to listen, and then I will make it a full screen. Last Saturday, I introduced Toastmasters.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, good. So just hear it out. I'm just trying to explain what Toastmasters is all about, comparing it with COVID-19. International to one of the new clubs, Toastmasters International. Like coronavirus has global presence, it can only be spread from one human to other and has maximum number of people associated in USA. Toastmasters is infectious. The first club in your area is like getting first positive case in your geography. And for community spread, you need at least 20 cases. When these speech infected people come together, they call it a Toastmasters meeting. In a typical meeting, a prepared speaker is an individual who has shown speech symptoms in the last few days and undergo test for 5 to 7 minutes. Table topic always frighten people like asymptomatic because it never give any symptoms upfront. And the rule takers, they act as a preventive measure. Okay, so if you look at this comparison, it is trying to make a really dull subject of introducing something like Toastmasters Club, which is obviously a public speaking club, and that is one of the biggest club worldwide, into something that people understand. So humor or joke is not only about stand-up. It's not only about making something that is not very relevant in the speech. So here, what I tried is trying to compare it with something that is very relevant in a day-to-day life nowadays. So that's the first technique that you can use to create humor. Trying to build a metaphor or comparison between what you want to say and comparing it with what people already know. The next technique is asking questions. Now, one of the way in which you can get audience attention is by asking questions. So if I would ask you a question, what is common between internet connectivity and sound sleep? Both internet connectivity and sound sleep doesn't come to me when I need them the most. internet connectivity on the day of my presentation and sound sleep a day before my presentation. Now, this you can actually use it when you are giving a presentation and you loses the internet connectivity or you have trouble in your audio or video. So this is also a good technique in engaging the audience rather than just telling, oh, I really have bad internet today. This also ensures that people are engaged in your presentations or speeches or any workshops that you are taking nowadays virtually in a more effective manner. The other part that you need to understand is when you are trying to create metaphor, you build two dimension simultaneously, whereas in terms of question you get the answer first and you build question on top of it. So I already knew that I'm having trouble with sound sleep because of, say, pressure or tension, and usually the internet connectivity is lost. So I know the answer up front, and then I try to build question around it. Now, as I said, it would also be good to get engagement from you. So it's time for you to look at some of the metaphors or questions. So now I would request Daya so to just make a group of say two people. If we have less number of participants, give them 5 minutes. And as I requested initially, try to see if you are able to start your video. So the idea is try to build something that is creative enough and can bring laughter. So for example, internet connectivity is like my parents, sometime good, sometime bad, or social distancing is like. So try to build something that is comparable or a set of questions. And I also request if you can send the first word document to the participants so they are able to read through it once they get into the breakout room. Okay, welcome back all of you. So I hope you had fun and also discussed some of the content with your teammates. So I request now some of you to at least perform and tell us what you discussed and if you have come across any funny thing or able to prepare something that we all can laugh at. So who want to give a try or give a shot? I could see Aditi, Afsan, Farida, Zaida, maybe one from the group should be good enough.
Sir, this is actually Aditi from breakout room number 1 speaking.
Yeah, go ahead.
My teammate Farida had kind of decided on, like, kind of role playing, and it is basically what our joke is centered about. So can we be allowed to, like, role play this bit?
Sure, definitely. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Farida, you wanna come up?
Yeah.
Okay. Start.
Man, that exam.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Man, that exam sure was hard, huh?
Yeah, it was.
So, what'd you do for question number 6?
I mean, like, he asked me orally, and, like, I'm not really sure if that was the right thing to say, but I said it anyways.
So, the story of my life, basically.
Oh.
Okay. So can I have a big round of applause or in the chat also? So Farida and Aditi, you can still be online, or yeah, or at least I can see both of you. I just wanted to give some small tips how it can be further enhanced, and then we can move to the next set of people. So when you are trying to build a joke, it's also important to give a certain attitude towards it. For example, if you would have given uh, a simple line like, my life is always weird, and then you come to this specific example of examination, and then the punchline that my life is like this, then it would have driven more laughter. Yeah? So that's the small tip I could give at the moment. Okay, and then we will also try to see it at later half of the workshop how the setup and the punchline essentially works. But thank you very much for the great effort. So we move to part, and that is setup and punchline. And this is a classic way to create a joke. So metaphors and comparison are the shorter form of humor, where you can create a small metaphor or comparison and use it in your speeches, in your presentation, or day-to-day dialogues. And same goes with questions. So you can create a question that can get your audience back in the entire presentation. But setup and punchline can be used to create a bigger forum or a bigger laughter. So let's try to understand this using an example. Okay, I will just take one more example. I'm sorry for the bad video quality here, but let's try this out and let me know if you are able to hear it, and then we start. Yeah. So it's audible in the
Yes, it is.
good. So this one I did in one of the open theater here in Darmstadt. There is a small city in Germany, Darmstadt, where I gave it, I think, few years back. So I have to say this because last 8 months I'm just doing online stuff. Yeah. So here is the joke. Yeah. And it is built with the same intention of setup and punchline. In the past, I always believed I had magnetic personality. Despite that, not a single girl was attracted towards me for years. Lately, I read a medical research that states 30% of women in India are suffering from anemia. And then I knew, because these girls are suffering from anemia, a disease caused due to deficiency of iron. They are not attracted towards magnetic personality. Okay. So now if you look at, or if you are able to assimilate the structure, you will find that there is a setup and there is a punchline. So my setup was that I had magnetic personality, and the punchline was the girls suffering from anemia are not attracted towards magnetic personality. Yeah. So there is nothing that I created on the fly. It was well planned and well prepared, and that brought all the laughter. If we go one level deeper into it, yeah, there are three components when we try to see a joke or when we try to create a joke. First is the assumption, second is the connector, and third is the reinterpretation. Assumption is something that you create in the mind of the audience with a simple word, sentence, or a phrase at the beginning. So when I said magnetic personality, what comes to your mind? Anyone? That somebody has a magnetic personality.
Hitler.
Okay. Okay. I won't
Hitler?
yeah.
Seriously?
Being attractive.
Yeah, okay, good. So
Wait,
I will
Hitler is
take both.
attractive? What?
So when I say assumption and with magnetic personality, I'm just saying this because I know that most of the people associate magnetic personality with somebody who is handsome, good looking, dynamic. Yeah. And then I have the connector. Now, if you look at connector, I have used the properties of iron to attract magnet. Yeah. And later on, I used it for anemic girls, saying that anemic girls are not attracted towards magnetic personality. And that's how I have built the entire joke. So let's try to see with a simple variation. So if I give you a simple setup that I was in the park and I had an asthmatic attack, what is the assumption that comes to your mind? Yeah, as an audience. Anyone? Simple, it's not a joke. Yeah, I mean, we are still trying to build that initial setup in the mind of the audience. Yeah. So with the setup, I'm just creating an assumption that I had an asthmatic attack. Yeah, and then I might have fallen down or taken to a doctor. Yeah. Some does Can anyone agree to me, or can I hear something? Because I couldn't see anyone, so I at least need some responses.
No, I think I agree.
Yeah, okay, good. So here is how it goes. Yeah, I will say I was in the park and I had an asthmatic attack. My asthmatic friend attacked me, right? So now what I am trying to do is I am just trying to create a reinterpretation, which people never expect. Yeah. So I am creating a reinterpretation that I was beaten up by my friend, right? And the connector here is the asthmatic, yeah, asthmatic person or asthmatic attack, right? Now you can make use of this in different dimension and try to put it. But this is how a joke is being built. And of course, you can take it to the next level where I will also show you how to make it in a bigger format, say of 2 to 3 minutes. Any questions here? Okay, if there are no questions, the first, there is one more item that usually people ask is how should I select a topic? Yeah. My simple advice here is write down your observations from your day-to-day life. So you can write your observations from your university, your school, your day-to-day interaction with your friends, your bed experiences. Remember, your bed experiences are something that people will laugh at it. And if you are able to share it, that's great. And then try to bring knowledge from professional life. For instance, Nowadays, I am working from home. During lockdown, I found a really weird thing about me. The value of my self-esteem is lower than my internet connection. And I found this last week when my boss was shouting at me, but I was okay. But as soon as the internet connectivity is lost, I was frustrated because when my boss was shouting at me, I was watching Netflix. Now, this is something that you can bring it along when you had similar experience. Yeah, so this is something that you can also take in different dimensions as well, and then try to relate it to the audience that you are talking to. Yeah, it's important that when we are in a Toastmaster setup or when you go in a pub, then the joke structure and the dimension changes. So for example, in a stand-up comedy stuff, you will have more non-veg jokes or something that related to religion and sex and all those stuff, and which is not suitable in a different context of professional life or in a workshop, in a present.
I can't hear. Now, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's also important to relate the jokes to the audience, because sometime when it is irrelevant, people are not able to get associated with it. Right. So the other thing is, once you identify the topic, the next thing that need to be looked at is create an association list. So when I say a simple case of a car, yeah, what are the various things that you can associate a car with? Anyone or all of you?
Traffic
Tire?
police,
Yeah, okay, good.
court,
What else? Traffic police, I understood. What else?
We have tunnels or something like chains.
traffic lights,
Okay, good. Yeah, so you can associate seat belts, wheel, and engine, almost everything, right? Mechanics, brakes, headlights, wheel, ticket, insurance, traffic lights, right? The same goes with, say, different topics like marriages. So you can put bride, food, dance, or these days mask, color, size, shape, right? So each one of them will give you an insight of where to look at the joke creation part, right? So from here on, we can build, say, 2 to 3 minute script on a specific topic. So when you want to talk about car, you make a joke on seat belt, then you make a joke on mechanics, then you make a joke on brakes. But first, you need to create that entire list which you are able to associate with. Okay, so once you have this association list, the next thing that you need to do is write a positive statement and a negative statement about it. So for example, seat belts are comfortable and seat belts are uncomfortable. Traffic jam is avoidable, traffic jam is unavoidable. Mechanics are honest, mechanics are dishonest. Simple statement. And here I have also mentioned, don't try to be funny here, because the joke will come at the end and not at the beginning. So you still need to work on the initial setup, right? Now, once you have this, right? So for example, traffic problems can be solved, traffic problem cannot be solved, mechanics are honest, dishonest. Once you write this, then you try to take this and create a setup, a connector, and a punchline. For instance, sometimes, and this I created from the first statement. Yeah, as somebody has talked about Hitler, I will give a joke that I've created specifically for German audience, right? So, and this I created from the first statement that I have written. Sometimes in life, we are helpless. For instance, traffic jam is prevalent across the world. But when traffic happens in India, it's because of huge number of people. And in Germany, because of huge number of cars. Even though each one of us knows the root cause of the problem, we are helpless because Germans will not stop producing car and Indians, babies. So if you look at this specific joke or a piece, I could create it because I have the initial format written with me that I have to make sure that traffic problem is solvable and traffic problem cannot be solved. And then I related it with my own background and of course with the German audience, right? So you need to understand that there is, if it comes to you naturally, then it's good enough. But if it doesn't come to you naturally, then obviously there is a mechanics that works at the end, right? And if you look at or closely watch most of the stand-up comedians, they have certain mechanics that is already in place, right? So we identified the topic, yeah, at the beginning. We and just try to be as simple as cars and marriages and mask or university or friends. You can have simple topics, then create association list. The next item is you need to write a positive and negative statement around it. Pick one positive or negative statement and that will have a joke already for you, right? So now I will give you a few more tips. Many a times people say, oh, I create a joke, but nobody laughs. You need to understand 90% of jokes fail. Okay. So if people are laughing, you are already in the top 10%. And if you are not, you still are in the set of people who are in the maximum zone. So you still need to give one more shot with a different setup and a punchline, and you will see that in different contexts, people will laugh at it. The second important thing is jokes goes from good to bad and bad to worse. So and this is more from human psychology, right? So you laugh when somebody fall down from the chair, right from our childhood, in schools, in colleges, but we never laugh when somebody is able to sit on the chair. So the same goes with jokes. If somebody is saying extremely bad thing at the beginning, he end up with worse, right? Or if he start with good, he end up with bad. And that's the key element that you need to understand. And sorry, I'm skipping some slides because of the time constraint, but in the longer format, the idea is we mismatch the situation. Yeah. So for example, I'll just give one example from the same speech. And here I am trying to display, or I have just one line, that leaders are the one who have followers. Now let's listen to it, and then I will give you some.
Can
My
hear it.
first foreign trip to Amsterdam. My flight was from Mumbai to Amsterdam via Abu Dhabi. As I was nervous about my first abroad trip, I checked in way before the flight time, and as water bottles are not allowed, I drank all the water before the security. I was sitting relaxed in a big waiting hall with no pressure of missing the flight. But after some time, the pressure inside my body started building. And I have to look for the men's toilet. Unfortunately, the men's toilet next to the waiting hall was locked. I tried thrice. No. Then a gentleman walked to me and said, I know what you are going through. Let's try to go to ladies' toilet. I looked at him and said, no way. He just went off and sat on his chair. After 15 minutes, as I could not think of anything else, I just walked to him. As words are difficult to come out, I just said, let's go. So we both went to the ladies' toilet. The girls inside toilet stared at us. As the ladies' toilet does not have an open space like men's toilet, I quickly ran and locked myself in the closed cabin. As the pressure inside my lower body was decreasing, the pressure on the upper half was mounting. As I was thinking, I'm using ladies' toilet at an international airport in a conservative country and on a suggestion of an unknown person. This tension went away as soon as I moved out of the toilet, because I could see a long queue of men and women outside the ladies' toilet. Since my childhood, my father always wanted me to be a leader. So, if you see this specific piece, my thought process around this is to describe an event that happened with me, and I have just one line at the end that leaders have followers, and that's how I then built it up, the entire sequence. But if you look at it, I mismatched the situation with the fact that a leader could also be in a toilet, right? So I have just mentioned few other examples, but due to short of time, I will quickly move to the question session. If any one of you, or if you have any questions, then I can take those questions. And then in the meantime, Dahiya, you can send the feedback link, and then I will close from there. Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead, go ahead. I can hear you. Yeah, please.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Afshan and I am from India. So I also know that you are from India and you live in Germany, but jokes vary from people to people. So suppose I say a joke here, many people laugh, but if you tell the same joke over there, people might be like, he's discriminating me. So how do you handle both at the same time?
Okay. So if 90% of people in your audience laugh, that's a good enough percentage, I would say. So you cannot make laugh all 100%. That is very clear. And this is also right from the childhood. So no matter how good teacher is, he cannot make everyone understand his concept. Yeah. So even when I read about Richard Feynman, who won the physics Nobel Prize, even in his class, he could only achieve 70 to 80% of understanding. And the same goes with humor. But you, as you rightly said, you also need to understand, do you feel bad about giving that joke? Then don't do it, right? But if you see that, yes, I'm fine with whatever content I'm giving, then do it, because there will always be audience which doesn't like it. But if majority is there which like the joke because you are doing it for fun, then go ahead and do it.
With your permission, sir, can I add something, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say, I mean, I feel like there's a difference between a joke that may happen to offend some people and then a joke that's like intentionally offensive or problematic. And I feel like we can be funny while still ignoring those, like we're still not making those jokes. You know what I mean?
Correct. As you rightly pointed out, there is a fundamental difference between humor and humiliation, right?
Yeah.
And we should clearly understand this, that this difference lies and when not to cross that specific line, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like you gotta just look into yourself and just think, if someone told me that joke, or if I was like that certain race or that certain color or that certain gender, would I be offended by it? And then if you were offended by it, then you wouldn't make that joke.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yeah, so I have another question.
Go ahead.
Okay, what do you do when you make a joke and it doesn't land? Do you like continue, or do you make another joke in its place to try to make people laugh?
Okay, so as I said, 90% of joke fail. So most of the time it fails. And the reason why it fails most of the time, because people try to do it with wider audience right in the first place, right? So if you have written the joke, try it out on your friend. If he says or she says that, yeah, this seems okay, can you try to mold a bit? Then there are much higher chances that it will work in a wider audience, because a statement can make you laugh, but if it is not able to make the other person laugh, then there is a fundamental change then you need in the structure. And the second thing that you need is, if nobody laughs at it, right, you should not take it to the heart. And that's one of the mistake that I also made at the beginning. Yeah, I felt it's really funny, but nobody is laughing, because it might be because my microphone is not correct. It's because people are in a different mood. It can be anything, but you just carry on from there on to the next one and see if it works. Yeah, and that's how you should take it forward. So I think you also got a feedback form link. It would be good if you can give a little feedback for this workshop, so that in case in future, if we want to hear more or on different context, of course, we can share, and we can also organize similar stuff to the wider audience. And I would just like to leave you with a simple quote of Charlie Chaplin, from where I actually started, is, a day without laughter is a day wasted. So I hope all of you would have learned and laughed a little bit today. And that's the way we have not wasted this part of our life.